Well, welcome to part 6 of our series on finding hope when life is fearful. We've been discussing different truths and tips on how we as followers of Christ can navigate a difficult world. And the truth for today is going to sound very familiar. You've no doubt heard it before, and that's that God is in control. But what does that really mean, that God is in control? Does it mean that everything is going perfectly? Well, obviously not, or else we wouldn't need a video series like this. Does it mean that every difficult situation that we face in life is going to work out well for us? No, it doesn't mean that either. Part of what it means is that God has a plan for this world, and it is still being carried out. It has not been thwarted. In Psalm 33, 10 and 11, the psalmist tells us that the Lord foils the plans of the nations. He thwarts the purposes of the peoples. But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of his heart through all generations. The plans of the Lord stand firm. They have not been thwarted. They are still being accomplished. Last time we discussed being on mission for Christ. Being on mission for Christ looks like being a soldier in a battle. And a soldier in a battle rarely understands the entire battle plan, much less the plan for the war. He or she is forced to trust the chain of command, their superiors, that they know what they're doing. Now, with humans, that trust is sometimes misplaced. But with God, that trust is never misplaced. You see, as we go through this life, we see what's in front of us. And God holds us responsible for that, to be faithful with our circumstances and our relationships. But as we look around at the bigger world, it can seem out of control. It can seem chaotic. It can seem like God's plan is not taking place. But that's okay. We don't have to understand the big picture. We don't have to understand the plan. All we have to do is trust that God does. That he does have a plan and that it is still taking place. That's what it means that God is in control. And it also means that we know that his plan for us is for our ultimate good. Now, that good may be hard to see at times, but think about past difficult times in your life. How many times can you look back at the most difficult parts of your lives and see the hand of God at work in ways that you could not see at that time? In Romans 8, 28 and 29, Paul tells us that we know that in all things God works for the good for those who love him, for those who have been called according to his purposes. That passage doesn't say that everything works out for good. What it does say is that for those who are called by God and those who love him, that even the most difficult things, that as we're faithful, will work together for good for us. God is at work, and we can trust that he is in control. And so that's our truth for today. Our tip is to know history. Now, why would that be a tip? How would that help us overcome fear and have hope in this life? Well, by knowing history, it helps us to keep things in perspective. It helps us to see that the sky really isn't falling. This isn't the end of the world. It helps us to see that others have been here before. We realize that not much about our current situation is particularly unique. Others have gone through difficult situations very similar to our own, and nothing is permanent. Things do change. It won't always be this way. There have always been and there always will be problems and trials, but every storm fades. And in every storm, in every trial, we know that there are ways to serve and honor God no matter what is going on, because followers of Christ have always been able to do it in the past. People are people. Some move forward in difficult times with faith, courage, and integrity, and some do not. You can choose which one you will be by trusting that God is in control, by putting things in perspective, and moving forward in confidence, even when your circumstances don't justify that confidence. God is in control.